Ximena Zarza Del Puerto, welcome to the Next Gen series of the Preconstruction Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
This was an absolute breath of fresh air when you reached out and said you would agree to come on the podcast. I think it's really important to anybody that's listening to the podcast. We have got some incredible guests, the guys that they're at the top of their game, and women across the US, senior people, directors, C-suite, VPs. But I think it's also really important to get the views of people just coming into the industry, because you guys and gals can teach us so much as well. So thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thank you.
Your background is amazing. I cannot wait to get back into it. So let's get started. Let's go back to when you were in high school. What was obviously, looking at your background now, it's pretty easy to say that the construction wasn't at the forefront of your mind.
Exactly.
What was your life like growing up in Paraguay, and what was the thought process when you were going through high school as a career?
Yeah, well, I always thought that I like more like social stuff. I was more like into politics, law, and stuff like that because I was always like the person who argue all the time and wants to do the right thing and likes justice and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, the most similar thing about my way of being, I think, is law, because I was always like trying to do the right thing and try to defend the minority, I guess. So I just thought that law was my path, and that's how I was thinking when I was in high school.
Brilliant. Well, I tell you what, that will stand you in good stead with a career in pre-construction, because every meeting you've got to defend your numbers. You've got to answer questions and fight your way out of meetings. So that's interesting. So you wanted to, you liked the justice. Obviously you thought like being a lawyer was like being watching Suits. You were going to be Harvey Specter, fighting all these great cases. So you actually went and did law in Paraguay. How was that?
So I did law in Paraguay. I went to one of the top universities, the private ones in Paraguay, which is the name. It's a Catholic university. I studied law there for 3 years, and then I was like kind of confused to see what I want, because it wasn't exactly what I expected to be. Law is a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading, especially. And I like reading.
It is.
But and then I went through just a weird path, and then I ended up in the US, right? And then I started a job with a subcontractor here in the US as a like administrator at the beginning, right? And then they were an electrical subcontractor here in the area in Maryland. And then I was kind of curious about what they're doing. I just don't want to do any administrative things because I was in a kind of mood of figuring out what I wanted. And then I asked them to teach me about estimating, to teach me about what are they doing. I think it was very interesting seeing the big plans with all the designs about electrical. And I thought it was pretty interesting, right? I was like, what is this? Right. And then so I let me know if I'm going too far, because I'm just telling my whole story here.
That's it. That's what it's all about. The Preconstruction Podcast. It's conversational. You keep going, and I'll pivot and ask you questions as we go.
Yeah. So I told them to teach me a little bit about it, and they were actually looking for estimators. And I don't know how hard it was to find an electrical estimator for subcontractors, because I think they're looking for like a medium level and stuff like that. And it's hard to get like young people like me to go into construction and go, especially subcontractor. I think general contractors are more open and they're like in the big picture, but subcontractor, I think it's hard to find people that are well trained or people that has a lot of knowledge. So I told them to teach me, and it took me a lot. I cried a lot too, because I thought I will never understand this. And we have the little measurement thing that we use to do the rolls to see to measure the length of the of the wires, for example,
Yes.
on the plant, right? And that thing for me was horrible because I thought I will never understand, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I thought I
yeah,
will never understand. I was like, nah, this is not for me. This is not for me. This is not for me.
yeah.
But I keep trying because it was so interesting, and I liked it. When I could understand what I did, for me was like so gratificant. I don't know how to say it. Is,
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
guess, right?
you're just yeah, yeah, and you obviously had seen it as an administrator. You'd seen what they've been doing. You wanted to learn more, so you've got
Yeah.
the inquisitive mind to go
Yeah.
into it. And I mean, to have that as an estimator is really important. But
Hmm.
was it your decision to go into pre-construction and estimating? Or did you actually think about going out in the field, maybe watching a few jobs put together?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought at the beginning. I was like, I might go to the fields and start learning there. But I actually started by counting the stuff on the electrical. Like I was counting the lighting fixture. I actually learned more the process about reading plans,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
I was like trying to learn the symbols. I was trying to learn about all the code requirements that like because I started to do residential, not commercial.
Yeah.
So residential is more pretty easy, it's pretty standard. It's not really easy, but for me, like doing single families for me was kind of easy because it's very standard. And I had my mentor there, who was watching me all the time, right? And then when I start catching it, when I start learning the plans, I start enjoying. Very, very, it was like, oh, okay, I can do this, I can do this. It took me a while. It took me some, I will say like 6 months maybe to learn in a really good way.
And just, I mean, just on that, what was the most difficult part of it? Because, I mean, obviously not having a construction degree, an electrical
Yeah.
engineering degree, you were literally starting with
From
nothing.
zero. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the hardest part for me it was um the conversion between meters and feet and food and
Yeah, yeah,
feet
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
feet, and that was the really hard part because I know math. Like I study. I know I was studying law, but I still know law. I still know math. And so the conversion between meters and try to get used to it to that was a really difficult thing to do, and also to try find the type of wires that a house has to use. I have to memorize the 12 wire, 10 wire, and what are the loads for the 10 wire, what are the loads for the 12 wire. And then I had to learn like the appliances, what kind of wire they use, it, what kind of load they usually pretty standard are, what are the equipments on a house, a single family has to be, in the attic, on the basement, stuff like that. That was very, very hard to learn because, of course, I never did, right?
yeah. It was a good,
And
good. It was a good starting point with the single family home, the
I
residential
think
side.
it's perfect. I
Yeah,
think it's perfect because it's pretty standard, all the times I have to be the same thing, you always gonna have a refrigerator, you're always gonna have a microwave, you're always gonna have a dishwasher, especially in the US. They're pretty very standard with their equipment that they're gonna use in the single families.
brilliant. And then obviously the quantities. Did you get involved with procurement and that side of it as well?
So I at the beginning I just started doing quantities,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
started doing that. And then when I start catching it, I was actually asked to go in the field,
yeah.
right? Because I wanted to see how the process is. Now I know on the plans, and how can I put that together in my mind to see in real life, right? So I asked, and they took me a couple of projects. I was like, kind of like reviewing the projects. I stayed there for a little bit. I started in the meetings, and I was like managing the guys because I speak Spanish, which is a good plus. And
Yeah.
mostly the majority of people in the field speak Spanish. So I was able to ask them to teach me some stuff like, hey, how you put this GFI, how you wire this three-way switch, and so I was learning like that. But um, on the fields, I never got my hands there. I just learned by visually. But then I was like realizing that, okay, I need to learn more,
Yeah.
right? I cannot just go to the fields and just do the plans. So my second thought was, okay, so I'm gonna try to do a course certificate so I can get, because in the US, to be an electrician, you have 3 levels. You have the you have, I don't remember the first one that I have the certificate. You have journeyman, you have masters, and you have the first level. I don't know
Okay.
if you're and the first level, to get the first level, if you don't have a field experience, you have to take a certificate, a course that it has to give you like 30 hours, I think, so you can get like a license, uh,
Yeah.
apprentice license. That's what it is, an apprentice license for electrical, to like be able it gives you more credibility, and it gives you more knowledge too, because you have to take 30 hours of classes, right?
Of course.
So I searched for some classes around the area that I was living in, Maryland, at that point. And so I found one that it was it has like a agreement with the state of Virginia, the higher education, something like that. So I was like, okay, that will allow me to give me the credit hours that I need to get a apprentice license. And of course, I did more that because I wanted to learn more, you
Yeah,
know.
of course. Yeah, yeah. You got
Yeah.
you had the practical experience. Now you were looking for the book smarts, and you went and
Yes.
did that. That was a good step. Then when did the commercial experience come along? And I know, shout out to Spartan Electric who actually gave you a shot at this and got you involved and got you into estimating, because that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do here. We're trying to get as many people into pre-construction estimating as possible.
Yeah.
Um, when you came to the US, just to backtrack a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
were you considering any career, or did you want to get into construction?
Well, so in the US, I wanted to, like, because I had a degree in Paraguay as a lawyer. So I was like, okay, I might maybe try to do the transcript and see if I can just keep
Yeah.
practicing law and stuff like that. But at that time, I came in 2019 when everything started from COVID,
Yeah.
right? And I came to the worst time ever that an immigrant can come. So I was like stuck in the US because I couldn't do my transcript yet, because I came in October 2019.
Yeah.
So the COVID started in February 2020,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, oh my God. So I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, I was going to get my transcript, and then I was like, oh yeah, but I need to make money too. I need to go to my work, and I was not kind of figure out what to do. So then um, a friend of my family is actually the vice president of Spartan Electric, with
Brilliant.
the subcontractor. So he told me, hey, just come here. Let's just work here as an administrator for now, and then figure out what you want to do. If you want to just start it for
Brilliant.
administrator, and you don't have to do anything electrical. Don't worry. I know you don't know anything, so don't worry. Just do some administrative things, make some money, and then you can be able to pay like to do a master in whatever you decide to do, right? That's what the first thing.
I love it. I love it. That's brilliant. That's exactly what we want. You got into the construction world, and then you found your calling within estimating. So you started
Yeah.
on the residential side. Does Spartan Electric, do they do
Yeah.
commercial side? Did you get into the commercial side?
Yes, yeah. So I went to visit one job on commercial side, and then they started, when I started getting pretty good at residential, they were like, okay, we're gonna give her more like building apartments, which is our like big sizes, more commercial. I think I bid one Shake Shack, I guess, one commercial Shake Shack. Yeah, I choose it because I love their burgers, so I choose
Yeah,
it, and I wanted to bid it.
love it.
So yeah, I started with Spartan doing more. I was mostly of the time was doing more residential, but I got into my hands a little bit on commercial, right?
Yeah.
I was like doing one restaurant, and then more building apartments.
Mm-hmm.
That was my focus of commercial,
Yeah.
let's say
Brilliant.
that.
And then,
Hmm.
so you stayed with Spartan. Then in October 2022, you moved to James G. Davis. Now, we're all familiar with James G. Davis and the type of work
Yeah.
that they do. How was that transition into a general contractor? And are you still concentrated on electric, or are you across all divisions?
Yeah, so the primarily thing that I'm doing here is this is electrical estimator. Yeah.
Good.
I don't have the title of the estimating. I have estimating pre-construction engineer because they wanted to get me involved in other areas, but I actually just want electrical. I like electrical. Yeah, I don't want to go in other area. I know how to do it. I learned how to read the plan so I can take some quantities for flooring, or I can help people, right?
Yeah.
But I want to focus on electrical because that's what I enjoy doing.
You want to be a subject matter expert, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. So now that I got involved in James Davis construction, um I really like working in a general contractor. Is way different from a sub. I'm
Yeah.
not talking anything bad about a sub, but
What are the biggest
especially,
differences?
well, the organization,
Yeah.
the bureaucracy that they have is, I think, bureaucracy. Sometimes I don't agree with bureaucracy, but here and at the job, I think bureaucracy is very important.
Yeah.
Um, and I really like it because it's more organized. They have, I don't know, my experience with subcontractors were like we didn't have HR department, we didn't have marketing and stuff like that, like the little different areas, they were like, okay, pre-construction, accountant, that's it, and
Yeah.
then you have to manage your jobs, like they were in subcontractors, it doesn't exist the pre-construction
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
You estimate, you handle the jobs, you order, you manage, you do everything.
Yeah. And
That's what
that's
I.
the beauty of it. And then obviously when you go to the general contractor, you're across all divisions. As you say, you like to concentrate on electrical. Do you work
Yes.
closely with the mechanical guys, the piping guys,
Oh
and
yeah.
and then the drywall? I mean, how collaborative an environment is it? Because being a subject matter expert within a general contractor, it is different compared to being an estimator across all divisions.
Oh yeah, it's completely different. I'm on the MEP department, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, right? So we have like a line. We all sit together with the mechanicals and the electrical, so we can collaborate together, and we do that a lot. Like that's very important because mechanical and electrical go like this.
Yes.
You can't just be the electrical and not talk with the mechanical. Especially it helps a lot to talk with the mechanical actually, because all the time if we do like a 30-minute meeting when they assign us the same project, so we have on that time when we finish our scope of work, we do like a coordination review. So we have to see, hey, do you include this, do you include this, hey, I saw this on mechanical, that do you think, are you going to provide the disconnect, you're not going to provide the disconnect. So doesn't matter coordination that we do, and we really do here really well. I really like my mechanical
So
estimators
I
here.
love that. When you were with Spartan Electric, you didn't have to think about mechanical. You just put the bids in, you put the plans in, you didn't
Well,
care. But
you have to.
how important and what was the biggest lesson learned now that you're working with mechanical so closely?
That you have to coordinate with them.
Yeah.
You have to. There's no way. And on the subcontractor, yes, they make you read the plans mechanical, but you don't have a direct contact with the mechanical estimator, which that is a really bad thing, I guess, because now I learned that mechanical and electrical has to be on the same page. They have to. They
Yeah.
have to.
Absolutely, yeah. And then obviously being in bigger projects, going from residential, James G. Davis, they do
Mhm.
larger projects. What is the difference when you're an electrical estimator going from a small, even single
Mhm.
home, maybe a bit of multifamily, to the bigger
Mhm.
projects? What is it, just a case of everything's just multiplied, or it's bigger, or
Um,
it's more complicated?
no, actually, I thought it was just multiplied. But commercial, especially now, has a lot of more of low voltage stuff,
Yeah,
like the speakers, the DAS, and then they have like a whole new vision world for low voltage. And that's one of the main things that I had to learn,
yeah,
the low voltage part. The electrical is kind of pretty similar, I guess, just
yeah,
the riser diagram where the equipment are going to go. You have more switch gears, you have disconnect for the elevators, which you can have that on um, building apartments, but in commercial you have more like their mechanical system has to have certain type of loads and stuff like that that you have to learn the big loads, you know and So far, I did one vet hospital of vets for
Wow,
animals.
cool, yeah.
Yeah. And that was a really good learning process. And I think the US does really well on designing the plans. I think, especially electrical, I think they really good at do a really good job. That if you actually take your time and read the plans, every single detail, you will find it there. If you can, you have Google.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you,
Funny you
it's
say that because that's one of the biggest pet hates of estimators is not getting a
mhm,
complete set of plans or plans that are not
yeah.
they're nowhere near detailed enough.
Yeah, that happened a lot, especially when we have budgets to do. We only have like one page of electrical, and then you have to figure out by yourself, Um, and it's if more you do it, I think you can compare with other projects, and you can go and estimate some stuff, especially if you already done like um a hospital, and then you see a similar hospital, that all the equipment, the MRI, the all this the X-ray and stuff like that, you already know what they're gonna have, what they're gonna require, any radiation protection. And I think for electrical, it's pretty standard on that. You always know that you're on the medical equipment, you're gonna have radiation protection. You're gonna start doing the type of wires that you're going to use, the type of conduit that you're going to use. Is not going to be the same as the one that you use outside of the room of the equipment, stuff like that. I guess experience is one of the main thing for
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean,
doing it.
historical data is a huge thing within
Oh yeah.
pre-production at the minute. And that kind of leads me on to my next question. What kind of technologies are you using right now with James G. Davis, and how's that helping you?
Well, we're still using Excel. We're still using templates, like regular templates on Excel. We have some webs webs that we use for like the bid and bytes that we have, and so we can like it's more of helping more on coordination than estimating,
Yeah,
because estimating is the same thing. And we use Bluebeam, which it really helps us to. I just use Bluebeam. I don't have to print the set of plans. I don't have to print the plans. I just read it through Bluebeam. It really helps, and that's a really good tool that you can use everything. And I
brilliant.
really enjoy using,
Brilliant.
but we still use it.
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously someone like yourself who's coming in fresh from another industry, what has
Hmm.
been the most important thing for you to get to where you are? Because you've done well. I mean, 2.5 years at Spartan and now performing really well as an electrical estimator at James G.
Hmm.
Davis. What's
Hmm.
been most important in your development and what can we learn from your experience?
Well, first of all, find what you like. Find what you like.
Yeah.
Find what you like, because estimating, it seems easy because people say, oh yeah, you can just open the plans and read through it. It's like, no. You gotta be very patient, you gotta be very detail oriented. um Especially on electrical, you have to read all the things that you see there. You have to understand, especially. And I will say, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. Don't like stick there and just, yay, I just know how to learn the drawings. I know about, no, like especially in electrical technology is advancing every single day. And especially solar panels. I'm taking some courses on solar panels too, because a lot of building apartments are including solar panels, and I thought it was very interesting to learn more about it. And I think it's a really big thing to learn. And not because you already know about electrical, you know everything. No, no, study. Keep your studying going, because more you know, you better do your work.
Yeah, and there's another big thing I want to ask you about. It's reverse mentorship, where people like yourself coming in the industry, maybe coming from another industry, can teach us so much as well. And then so that means pairing you up with a senior person within your company, and again, him or her teaching you stuff, and you learning from them as well. How important
Mhm.
is our mentors?
I will say 100%. Especially when you started, you need someone who can guide you. You need someone, because That happened to me at the beginning. I was kind of shy. I didn't want to ask because I don't want them to think, oh yeah, she's so stupid. She doesn't know anything. She's a lawyer. She doesn't know anything, you know. And I was kind of scared of that. But then I will say I was so lucky because my mentor, Anthony Kreitz, I will say his name because I
Good.
love him.
Shout out to
Um,
Anthony. Brilliant work.
Oh yeah, he's amazing and he knows so much. He's not patient at all. He always yell at me, but we get along really well. I love him so much. And and he actually, like, when I don't understand anything, he doesn't mind explain me the basics. He always like throw me his book and say, go read it. And I had to read it. And but for me, his presence in my day to day for me was what he helped me to be here right now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that. I'm
brilliant.
gonna say that. His
Yeah.
help was
It's so important.
everything.
It's so important, isn't it, to
Oh
sound
yeah.
important and be able to get the answer that maybe would take you maybe 3 or 4 days to get. He can give it to you
He
within
can give him
seconds.
1 second and he didn't care. He was like, what I really like about him is that he pushed me to be very independent, you
Good.
know, like he just don't want to, you know, like you can do like, yeah, I don't trust in your work. I'm gonna check everything, every single thing that you do, you know. And he actually let me do my thing.
Yeah.
And then I go to him and say, hey, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Please take your time. And
Yeah.
he took his time and he
That's
was like,
that's
when
amazing.
I present the proposal, he was like, I was so scared to talk to the general contractors because I was like, no, 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 please, please. They're gonna ask me so much question. I don't know. He was like, when you do your work, you gotta earn it and you gotta be sure that you did it right. If you didn't right, try to learn by it. You
Yeah.
know, don't hide. Don't
Yeah.
hide from that.
Yeah.
And he really helped me and pushed me to be very independent. So I think that helped me a lot to be where I am.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, that tells me that there's trust going both ways here. You trust him and he trusts you, and that opens up a great relationship. He
Yeah,
didn't micromanage it. I get it all the time. People ring
yeah.
me up saying, Gareth, I'm an estimator. These are the problems. One of the biggest problems is being micromanaged.
Micromanager. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just not healthy for anyone.
No, he never treated he one of the things another thing that I really appreciate of him is that he treated me as an equal.
Yeah,
I never felt I was lower because I don't understand stuff that he'd understand.
yeah,
He was so conscious that he has more experience than I do. And so not because he knows more, he will treat me like I don't know anything. You
yeah,
know, he was like, you can do it, go read it. I didn't have a degree, Ximena. He was like, I was like, but I don't have a degree in electric. He was like, I neither. And
yeah,
I'm here, a master electrician, making a lot of money.
yeah,
And you don't have to, you just have to know what you do and you have to read it. You have to learn, you have to study. If you want, you will do it. And I was like, yes, you're right. So that's why I took the course, the 6 months
apprenticeship.
course that I
Yeah,
was doing. Yeah. And then he pushed me to do a lot. I was like, I did some courses for the National Electrical Code, the 2020 that it's gonna come.
yeah,
He told me, read the 2017, read the other ones, the 2019, sorry, that you have to learn, because every year they every 5 years they have some modifications on the National Electrical Code. And especially if you're an electrical estimator, you have to, you
yeah,
need to know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so he pushed me a lot to be very independent. He treated me as an equal. He never treat me as a, oh yeah, she's just new or she's a woman. No.
Yeah.
He treated me as a man. I will say. He treated me like a man. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, go do your thing.
Brilliant.
Like
And that actually leads me into my other thing. Being a woman in construction, obviously the week has passed, but how were you? Because one of your quotes, it's never too late to start over. That was one of your
mhm.
quotes that we got from Women in Construction Week. And is that the advice that you would give someone that maybe is in a profession, in a job that they're not 100% satisfied, they don't feel comfortable in? Would you
Mhm.
advise them to get into construction and specifically pre-construction?
Oh yeah. Um we have a really bad concept about when we talk about construction. People think in a lower way when when especially women when they work in construction, they were like, "Oh, you're an engineer or you're like electrical estimator." Like what? Like why you don't just go do law and dress nicely and go to court, you know? And then when you're here, you actually I feel really good when I'm here in construction. I feel empowered because I know a lot about electrical. Um, and I feel like when I said that mm, you have to don't worry to start over, you need to start over, it's because when I studied law, when I got the degree, I was like, yeah, I can't do anything else. Like I already choose my path. Like why would I change when I did something? But like I was I wasn't afraid of changing my path because I already did something, right? Of course, if you do something, finish it, but don't worry to don't think that you're too old to do this or you're a woman, a very young woman, that you cannot do this. No, just do it and start from the beginning. And if you had to redo it again, redo it, especially on estimate. Redo it
Yeah.
as long as you got it right, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great advice. I mean, to me personally, we talk about women in construction. I think women within pre-construction and estimating is the
Hmm.
skills that they can bring to a pre-construction and estimating team, the diversity, the way of thinking. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I see it every day. I see
Hmm.
the most successful pre-construction and estimating teams have at
Hmm.
least one woman in them. Just her way of their way of thinking. It's a great added. Do
Yeah.
you see that whenever? Is there many in your estimating department? Is it just yourself?
Yeah, no, no. Well, on the MEP, we have two women, and I'm gonna say my manager, she's the MEP manager, and she's a woman,
Brilliant.
and which that's why I was like, yes, I'm gonna go to Davis because the leader is a woman,
Yeah.
and I don't mind working with guys. Like I have a really good experience with Anthony, the one at Spartan. So I'm like I don't have any problem working with men. Like I don't feel threatened and I don't feel less. Actually I don't.
Good.
For me, if you know more than me, good. Try to teach me. But
Yeah.
if I know more than you, I will teach you.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't want to compete with anyone. I just want to do my job right, and that's it. I just want to
That's
do the
it.
right
And
thing.
everyone's in
I
the
don't
same
care.
boat, everyone's trying to do the best for their company.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant. And just talk to me now quickly. It's towards the end here. The evolution of pre-construction, and you can talk directly as an electrical estimator.
Hmm.
What most excites you about it? What technologies excite you about it? What can we improve in the electrical
Hmm.
space?
I feel is I don't know how the other general contractors are. I just have experience with one general contractor, which is Davis. I feel like we have to have more trainings and stuff like that for especially for that division and try to training not for electrical but for the other estimators. I think it's very important for other people to understand more about electrical. It's like very basic stuff that people need to understand. And on the MEP side, I think more women should be working on MEP. I feel like those areas are more men predominant,
Yeah.
and I feel women should try to work more on getting on electrical or mechanical or plumbing because it's something that everyone can do.
Absolutely. Ximena, you're a brilliant advocate for women in construction, but also women in
Mhm.
pre-construction. Thank you very much for your time today.
Of course. Thank you so much.